Hi, this is Brenda Thompson. I am the host of Just Show Up, the podcast where we talk to real estate agents about their journeys, what brought them into the industry, maybe some fun or tearful stories along the way, and that brought them to where they are today. And today, I'm happy to tell you that we have Jami Mumley with us. And Jami, I appreciate you being here today. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Brenda. I appreciate it.
So let's dive right in. How long have you been in the real estate industry and what brought you into the industry?
Well, I have been an agent for 9 years. I'll be going into my 10th year in 2026. And the short version of what brought me into the industry is I got burned out in the corporate world. So I graduated from Syracuse University with a degree in public relations, which has served me well in real estate.
Fits well
Um,
for real estate.
for the first 20 to 25 years in the working world, I worked in corporate marketing and sales and advertising sales. And the most recent job, which was ultimately what transformed me into going into real estate, we had some turnover. It was a small company when I joined them. I had escaped a large corporate conglomerate. And for a number of years, I worked as the national sales manager for a group of radio stations here in the Dallas market. And the reason I'm telling you that is because my current broker was actually my national sales coordinator when I worked at those radio stations. So that's how we came to be together
The
and
circles
reunite.
pull
We
you back
came
together.
we came full circle. She was my national sales coordinator. Our group of stations was bought by a larger corporation, and she was concerned that she was going to be downsized. So she went and got a real estate license. At the time, I stayed on and stayed with them for a while, and my career ventured into a different industry that was sort of still related to the advertising world. And I was working for a startup company. When I started with them, we only had 10 employees and we grew. And as part of our growth at the time that they hired me on, I was the vice president of sales, but I was technically their only salesperson. And I have always been more of a consultative salesperson. I hate the word salesperson because I don't if someone asks me what makes you a good salesperson, I don't think that I'm a salesperson at all. I think that I like to help people solve problems. I like to hear what they need and try to help them and come from a place of contribution. And I feel like that's always served me well. But the big catalyst for me was we had acquired another company as our company was growing, and they brought in the person who owned the other company to be the SVP of sales. And the product that we sold was very high tech and it could be customized for the consumer. So I would spend time working with the engineers before signing contracts to find out, is this something that we can do? And she came in one day and she said, look, you're spending far too much time in the weeds. You just need to say whatever you need to say to get the deal signed and worry about the details later. And that just didn't sit well with me. And after going home and crying to my husband, he was like, you don't get paid enough to be this miserable. Like, it's just not worth it. You don't want to compromise your own integrity. You need to figure out what you want to do. You need to figure something else out. So I
Great
was on a
advice.
running. Exactly. So I was on a run in our neighborhood and I'm seeing for sale signs. And I came home and I said to him, maybe I'll get my real estate license. And he was like, I think you would be great at that. So I am very risk averse. And the idea of jumping from my secure corporate job into something that was completely commission based with no benefits and was very
Mhm.
scary.
Uh-huh.
Fortunately, my husband, I always say in a relationship, there's the dreamer, and the dream crusher. I'm the dream crusher because I am always worried about the what ifs and overthinking the possible problems and issues. And he's kind of the just go for it and it'll work out kind of a person. So my initial plan was, okay, I'm going to meet with Melissa. That's my broker now. I met with her and kind of told her what I was thinking. And she was like, work on your getting your license, take your classes on the weekend. You can stay in your corporate job if you want, and you can come work on my team. I may be starting my own brokerage. If I don't, you can come on my team where I'm at now. And, you can start part-time if you want to. So that was the original plan. Well, as we know, plans don't always
Plans
go as
change.
Yeah, plans change. Yeah, exactly right. I was about a month away from finishing up my courses to take my licensing exam, and the company that I worked for was headquartered out of Cleveland, Ohio. Their CEO and everybody was there, but when they had hired me, it was with the sales office being based in Dallas. So the CEO was in town to make calls on with me for clients, or so I thought. And he came in and he said, and this was on a Wednesday, he said, I wanted to let you know that Texas has changed how they tax software as sales companies. So because of that, we are going to be closing the office here effective this Friday.
Oh,
We would
wow.
love to keep you if you want to relocate to Cleveland. And we know you'll have to talk to your husband. And I'm like, yeah, we're not moving to Cleveland. I'm like, who wants to move to Cleveland? No, thank you. I'm sure it's a lovely place to visit, but I have no desire. The reason I moved from the Northeast was because I did not want to have to shovel snow. So that was not happening. So that sort of is what pushed me to go full time then into real estate. Okay, truth be told, while I was finishing up real estate, I was interviewing for other corporate jobs. And one day my husband pulled me aside and he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And he's like, look, I know how you are. If you get a job at another company, you're going to be so busy, focused on that, you're never going to do real estate. So if you really want to give real estate a shot, you just need to go and pull off the Band-Aid and do it. So I did, and the rest is history. And I never in a million years, although I did find a video back when I was in like second or third grade, my grandfather had one of those video cameras and I was giving him a tour of our house. But never in a million years did I ever think that I would end up in real estate. And I truly believe that I was meant to be doing this. And
I
that's
love
not
that you have an old video of that. Somehow you need to figure out how to splice that into
I do. I didn't even know it existed. We found it by mistake a couple of years ago, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that is insane that back then I was giving my granddad a house tour." So,
you
yeah,
were practicing for the future.
exactly. So who
I love
knew?
that. I love that. And it's good that your husband was there to give you that motivation that you needed too. But wow, it sounds like your stars all aligned at the right time of you were working toward getting your real estate license when the job you had was going to be moving states when you didn't want to move out of state.
No,
So they were giving you that gentle, they didn't know it, but they were giving you the gentle push that you
exactly.
needed.
The push that I quite frankly probably needed.
Mhm.
And I think it's funny, and I'm sure you'll agree because I know you work in real estate as well. Things always in life and in real estate as well tend to work out how they're supposed to, I think. Whether it's helping people find the right house for them, it just sort of works out the way it's supposed to ultimately. It might take a while to get there, but generally speaking, we don't know why things happen the way they do, but it usually works out the way it's supposed to.
Agree. And I think we've all had those buyers that fall in love with a house and for whatever reason they don't get it. Maybe there's another offer or something goes bad on the inspection. For whatever reason, that deal falls apart and they're crushed. And, we pull them along to show them some more houses with that. There has to be something better out there. And it's funny how I know we say that. And I know that when we do say it, we sound like these cheerleaders. But the truth is, it does happen. And then they do end up in the house that they are meant to be in, just like you said.
100% agree with that. There was no time this was more true than in 2021. I mean, I had one sweet couple, they were first-time home buyers. I wrote 25 offers for them before we got them under contract. And sure enough, the house that they ended up in, they love it. They love the neighborhood. And I mean, there were times back in 2021, and you probably were as well. I would sit in my car before I had to call someone to tell them we lost another one, and I would cry because I was crushed for them.
Uh-huh.
Because in some cases, I would be attached to a house and be like, I could so see them there.
Yes,
And it was
very
just
much so, because
hard.
you get to a point where you see them living there. You see them, whatever their family structure is, you see their kids in the rooms that they had talked about for those children or whatever the case may be. You see their life there. And it's hard to then make that call to say it can't happen.
But we'll get the next one.
But it's the next one. Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, that was a time that was hard for a lot of us. It was a highly emotional time for sure.
Yes, it was.
So after you got your real estate license and got the gentle push that you needed to jump full force into real estate, was there anything along the journey that was difficult to get through, like a learning process, and you wish you knew then what you know now?
So I think one of the hardest things, and I don't necessarily think that this is something that you ever fully get past because I think that it can still happen with neighbors and friends, just because the truth is, everyone that you know probably knows at least 5 realtors. And so I think probably the most heartbreaking thing for me has been if someone has not used me for whatever reason, you take it personal. I've tried to, and I think I've gotten better with getting a thicker skin with it and just being like, you know what, there's probably a reason for that too. The relationship that we have personally, maybe it would have gotten tainted if we worked together professionally. Sometimes people don't like to mix business with pleasure. And so I've tried to take a different perspective. But I do remember in the very beginning just being completely distraught because that happened on a couple of occasions. So it's just something that you kind of have to take in stride and be okay with. I mean,
I think you're right. Everything you said is spot on. I think over the years, I've discovered that so many people don't understand that we don't end up, as agents, we don't end up knowing all of their financial history. We don't know their credit score. We don't know how much money they have in the bank. We don't know how much money they make. Those are the conversations that happen with the lender, and the lender may have all of that more confidential
right.
financial information, but we as the agents, we are simply told how much they're willing to spend on a house. And I've learned along the way to just remind friends that like I don't really get any of your confidential information. What I end up with is the letter from the lender that you've discussed with the lender what you're qualified for and what you're willing to spend. And then somehow that takes a little bit of that away. But
That's a good point.
I think that is a fear for a lot of people that all of a sudden our friends think that we're gonna know things about them that they may not want us to know. And
That's
truth
probably
is,
true.
we don't find that out.
That is true. That is true.
So, with your business, because this is Just Show Up, so I always like to ask the question, what is there that you must always show up for to be the best version of yourself?
I think to be the best version of myself, so my hobby is triathlon. I usually try to stay active, and I think that helps me. The discipline in doing that and showing up to do the training, even when I don't feel like it, helps me. First of all, it grounds me, it releases stress, and I think it helps me to have more energy and be able to show up for my clients and be available and be present for them. So I think that that's a really important tip is to do something that you do for yourself that's only for yourself and schedule it in because I do, and I think I tend to be a little bit type A. And so if I don't schedule things in that I want to do, I will just work 24 hours a day. And maybe when I was younger, that was physically possible and more feasible. But now that I'm older, I just don't have it in me to do. And I
It's a
also
little
have
harder now.
it's harder. And I've recognized that the hours spent aren't productive anyway. And it's a really a fast road to burnout. So I think that that's something that helps me keep showing up. If I commit to working out even just a little bit every day or doing training, some type of training, whether it's go for even just a 30-minute run or something like that, that really helps me. And the other thing that I think is important is just to, I also make a concerted effort to stay in touch with past clients on a regular basis. And so that's something that I've been working on this year to be really diligent about I've done it somewhat in the past, but now I've kind of put a system in place where I'm doing it on a regular basis so that it's less daunting. If you do a little bit each day, then, it works out. And that really, I mean, that serves my business as well because I am more interested in working with referrals, and most of my business, knock on wood, now is referral business or past clients. So it's kinda come full circle in that regard as well.
Well, and I hear you pulling those things together. So just like training for the triathlon and you must show up a little bit every day, working on your database, showing up for it a little bit every day, but that then lets you show up for your clients and they remember you and they come back to you again and again too. So that works full circle. And I love your tie-in to the triathlon training for just showing up because that point struck me because you really do. You have to show up every single day. If you miss a week, if you take vacation for a week, your body will feel it.
Yes, it is, I know. My husband's always like, "Sometimes you need to rest," and I'm like, "I'm just afraid I'll lose, like, I won't be able to keep up when I come back." So it
Like
is
you'll fall
true.
5 steps back.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna get dropped by everyone on the bike ride. But, yeah, so I think that that does help, and in general, I mean, I think it's probably true for everything in life that seems big and daunting, if you break it down and do a little bit each day, like, honestly, although I do triathlons and it's a hobby for me and I've done Ironmans, I did not grow up as a runner or a cyclist. Like, literally anyone, if you wanted to, could train to do that. If you had the discipline and you just did a little bit each day, you could eventually get there. And so I think that's kind of a good way to look at anything that might be a big task or is daunting.
It is. And it's that getting started piece.
Yeah,
I think we all feel that. It's that trepidation about that getting started.
absolutely.
So, what is next for you? Is there something that you're working toward or hoping to grow a certain piece of your business? You mentioned you're mostly referrals business now. So,
That's the goal, to continue that. Think, although I don't necessarily know that my goal is ever to start my own brokerage or to have agents reporting to me. I do think at some point I'll get my broker's license just because I feel like it's just another step in the process and I would probably more do it for myself just from an additional education standpoint. I've done quite a bit of certifications and that type of thing. So I think just for my own personal reasons, I'd get my broker's license, but I don't necessarily have the goal to have a brokerage. I really enjoy the day to day, and I know my broker now is more of a manager of people. And I really enjoy working with clients directly, and I know I could still do both. And maybe if I got my broker's license, I might have, like, if she had agents that she wanted me to mentor or something like that, I'd be on board with doing something like that. But I really do enjoy helping clients and customers. And especially if it's referral business, like I would never want to pass them off to someone else. Even if
I
I was
agree.
in the loop and helping them, it just would feel not right.
There is so much joy in getting those clients to closing. And then when they pick up the phone and call you again to help them again or to help their child that's now growing up and doing their first transaction. There is something very, very special about that.
There is. It's kinda like the runner's high is the closest thing. It's just, like, such a great feeling, just
It
that
is.
satisfaction.
It is. Well, is there anything that you want to kind of as we wrap up, are there any parting thoughts or last thoughts you want to leave with our viewers?
I would say that a real estate isn't as easy as you think it's gonna be if you're
Good point.
deciding to get into it. So I would recommend if someone's considering it, to talk to someone who's been doing it for a while and ask them to tell you the bad parts. It's not saying that I love it, even the bad parts, but it's certainly not as easy as it looks. I always joke with my husband that someday I want to pitch an idea to do a show what it's like for Netflix, what it's really like to be a realtor because I have never worn stiletto heels and, my my runway outfit to go look at multi-million-dollar houses while I'm sipping martinis, and like it's just so funny what you see on TV, the reality versus actual reality of what it's really like. Putting
So
mulch
true.
down for clients because the sellers don't live here anymore, and you're like, and their gardener didn't do it, so you're out there with bags of mulch and that kind of thing. So I would say if someone's thinking about getting into real estate, talk to someone who's in it. And also, I think the other important piece of advice I would give is to interview different brokers and different brokerages to find one that fits with you, and make sure that whoever your broker is actually going to be involved and committed to helping you learn. So I think that that's really important, because whatever you learn taking your real estate classes doesn't really teach you how to be a realtor.
So true. But it's funny, a couple of things you mentioned, like I saw one of those real estate memes a few days ago that showed, the picture like you do see on TV of female real estate agents all sitting around a grand table for lunch, with their drinks and all perfectly posed and everything. And it was like, this is what they show you on TV, and this is what it's really like. And it's like, scruffing down some food out of a
In your
to
car.
go fast food to go bag in your car, because that is what it's really like.
I know. I love some of I'm sure you've seen it. They show up in my feed, some of the different real estate groups I've seen post in there with someone saying, I want to be a realtor, but I only want to work Monday through Friday, 9 a to 5 p.m. And I'm like, or my friends who say to me, God, being a realtor must be so great because you have such a flexible schedule and you get to set your own hours. And I'm like, hours are when my clients need me.
Which ends up being when they're awake,
Right.
because they think of us before they go to work. They think of us after they go to work, and we're working all in the middle of that too.
You really do. I think it takes special people to be dedicated agents, and you have to keep your sense of humor as well. Don't
Mhm.
take yourself too seriously. Take the job seriously, take learning everything you can possibly learn about it seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. And the other thing I will say is the other agents out there are not your enemies. It should be collaborative because
Yes.
we can all work together and help each other. So you don't have to tear someone else down.
No, no. I mean, literally every single person out there needs a place to live. So there is plenty
There's
of business.
plenty
I
of
know they're
business.
not buying every day. I know that, but everyone needs a place to live. So there is potential business all the time,
Absolutely.
and we can easily all work together.
My other advice would be, and I know people talk about having a niche or whatever. I think what was really helpful for me is leaning into, like I mentioned, triathlon is my hobby. I know a lot of friends and acquaintances through training and different cycling groups I'm in and that type of thing. So I think if you have a hobby, or if it's a church you go to, or if you're a mom and you're in the PTA, if you have something that you really enjoy and you lean into, and you just come from a place of contribution, of course, you have to kind of let them know that you work in real estate. But I think ultimately the business will come.
I think so too. And I think if you can lean into the things that you already love, whether it be hobbies or passions or just groups that you're already connected to, if you can lean into that, and like you said, just simply let them know that this is what you do for a living, then you're spending time at places you already love, and it will grow organically that way.
I agree. And it'll take time. I mean, you're not going to be, well, maybe you will be, but you're not going to be making $1 million your first year in the business. So
Not like
hopefully,
on TV.
not like on TV. You're not selling. Yeah, you're not. Your commission is not going to be 600,000, just so you know. But yeah. So hopefully you have savings saved up, or you have a partner who can kind of help float you along for a little while. But it does take a while to get established. So
It does. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I have loved talking with you. And
likewise, Brenda.
I hope to someday soon see that video of you practicing for real estate as a child.
I'll have to get my husband on it to find it and figure out how we can get it over. Well, it was so nice to chat with you. I appreciate it.
This episode has been sponsored by HomeSmart Stars. Agents, do you feel unseen, unheard? Maybe wish you had better commission? Maybe wish that you were welcomed and encouraged to just show up as you are and be your true authentic self and have all the training and support and tools to help you thrive in your real estate career? If so, then you need to reach out to HomeSmart Stars and make HomeSmart Stars your home for real estate.